a more in-depth demystifying. Welcome back, everybody. In this video, we're taking another look at OSL, or Object Source Lighting. In our last and perhaps most controversial video to date on the topic, we looked at sort of the physics of how light works and optics and everything like that, but I stopped short of showing you how I approach these effects in my own models, which I would like to show you today by painting up the Artillerist from the previous kit bashing video of the same topic. Now, to deal with this model, I got it most of the way there to start, to get ready for what I call the preparatory phase of doing OSL, which is essentially painting the entire model except for the lighting effects that you're trying to do. I've said this before and I'll say it again, OSL or other such lighting effects should be the absolute last things that you do and paint on your miniatures, because they are the things that happen after any paint is applied to something, after any weathering effects take place, because light is this ephemeral thing that exists after all of those things and is something that interacts with our eyes directly. So the first step in this, as I said, is preparatory, and that is coating everything that is going to be a source of this object lighting in a well-covering white paint. I prefer Pro Acryl's Bold Titanium White for this. It has really nice coverage, and you want to get this as opaque and bright as possible because this portion of the model should have the brightest lighting effect. After that is all set up and done, the next step is a pretty easy one, and that is painting the lighting sources with your desired lighting colors. For this, I use fluorescent paint. It doesn't really matter what brand, but for this instance, I'm doing Vallejo. And I'm just going basically straight out of the bottle here with a little bit of thinner, because again, we want this to be quite opaque. And I'm not too worried about paint texture at this point, because in this instance, the thing I'm painting is lightning, so a little bit of texture doesn't hurt anybody. Ideally, this lighting effect would be white on the inside and more orange towards the outer edges of it. However, this is a piece of wire being painted and it's not actually transparent, so there's not much I can do about it. Straight orange is about the best we can hope for in this instance. After all of your light sources are painted, just, take it easy, use a small brush, be careful, because again, at this point, the rest of your model should be painted. The next step is to approach the actual reflected light. And to begin doing that, I use a good period of just examination, looking at the model, thinking about where light is going to be bouncing off, what things that the light might be hitting, what things that the light might not be hitting, what types of materials the light is interacting with, and things of that nature. After taking a good look at the model and coming up with a strategy for how you're going to tackle these lighting effects, the next step is to, well, actually apply them. And we're going to be using two different mixtures of paint in order to do so. Again, turning back to our fluorescent, we're going to be using this in varying strengths in order to simulate light hitting different types of surfaces and how directly they are interacting with the light sources. So for the first batch of paint, it's essentially just out of the bottle. Again, just using a little bit of water on the brush to thin it and get it to a nice smoother consistency. But the other one I am mixing with some glaze medium. This is something I've not actually done before, so I wanted to try it out and see if it would help. I didn't want to overly thin it with water because it would lead to behavior of it seeking out the crevices and things which wouldn't really be receiving as much light. So I wanted to still have that slightly thicker consistency that a more medium-based approach would use. Now, glaze medium does warn that you should only mix up to 50% with the paint in question, so I mixed 5 drops of our fluorescent orange with 6 drops of glaze medium, because I am just that much of a loose cannon. Anyway, after mixing that up, I decided to test it on the rim of the base because, again, I hadn't tried this technique before and I wanted to see how it would dry in various concentrations. But while we wait for that to dry, there's another thing that we can do in the meantime, which is our specular lighting. Now, light interacts differently depending on the material it's hitting, and in this instance, I'm going to be exploring two different types of reflective lighting on this model. The first of which is specular highlights. This is light that is reflecting off of shiny or metallic materials, and for this I'm using relatively undiluted fluorescent orange paint to really bring the pigment up to the forefront. I'm using controlled brush strokes in very specific areas to just get those metallic surfaces that are reflecting the light directly, using a much sort of tighter approach, not really blending too much and getting more of those hard edge highlights in. As metal that is close to a light source will often do, it just reflects directly back into your eyes and doesn't really blend out or fade too much. After we finish those specular highlights, we can take a look at our base rim and see how the glaze medium was holding up. And I think it did a pretty good job, but I noticed the edges of the strokes were a little bit more concentrated with pigment than the other portions. So that led me to adjust my behavior slightly and focus my brush strokes towards the areas that are going to be receiving the most reflected light. And this was done on essentially the rest of the model. Things like cables, things like other pieces of his armor or parts of the vehicle, essentially anything on the model that was non-metallic, or even some of the metallic elements that were a little bit more corroded and rusted, like the kind of ring thing he has floating around him, and a couple of elements at the back. Again, just being careful, managing your brush strokes to concentrate that pigment in areas that are receiving the most light, taking an easy hand, and applying it in several thin layers in order to get the effect that you desire. But that's about it. It's really not a complicated process when you get down to it. The only things that you really need to distinguish are the materials themselves and just a good thought process of where this reflected light would actually be hitting. My last piece of advice would be to not go too overboard with your lighting, because again, in most lighting scenarios, light is going to be shining down from a strong source from the lamps above the table you're playing on, and it should be overpowering most light that the model is receiving. In that case, a couple of small lighting effects do a much better job of communicating a strong localized source of light than an overblown effect would do in the same scenario. Less is more in a tabletop setting. But I don't need to speak to the effect of my model, I can just show it to you instead. So here's a look at the completed Artillerist. Thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it as always. If you did like the video, be sure to give it a like. It always helps the channel out. And if it was helpful to you, let me know in the comments. I really enjoy doing OSL. It's probably one of my most favorite things to paint. So I was curious to hear what you guys think of it. Do you do it? Do you skip it? how do you handle lighting in your miniatures. And as always, stay subscribed for more kit bashes, painting tips, lore, and other such nonsense. See you guys next time. Peace!